It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Electrify America. Electric cars, they're normal now. Learn more at normalnow.com. Electric cars may seem a little different, but new technology always seems weird at first. Even podcasts seemed weird when they first came out in the early 2000s, and now everyone listens to them. You're listening to one right now, and just like podcasts, electric cars are normal now. They have longer ranges, faster charging times, and now multiple models to choose from like sedans, SUVs, and even motorcycles, so you can find one that fits your life. Electric cars, they're normal now. Learn more at normalnow.com.
This is the Locked On Auburn podcast, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast, brought to you by Fetch Me Home Delivery. They're the best in the business in having your family meal delivered throughout the Auburn and Opelika area. Highly encourage you to use them if you are in their delivery area. You can use promo code FetchMe20 for your first delivery free. They also will handle your dry cleaning or your groceries or coffee. If it can be delivered physically, they'll probably do it. And since everybody was asking them to stay open later and to deliver later on Friday and Saturday nights, they're now open till 2 a.m. So if you're home and either you shouldn't drive or just don't want to drive, you can go to fetchmedelivery.com or use the free Fetch Me Delivery app. And if you use promo code FetchMe20, you can get your first delivery free. Thank you so much to Fetch Me for sponsoring the show. I'm Zach Blackerby, joined by Michael Pappas. Hello, sir.
Hello, Zach. How are you today?
I'm okay, man. I'm okay. I've been on air for like 6 hours straight, so if I'm trying to make this not feel rushed. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm just tired of having a microphone in front of me. But a year ago, I would have begged for that. So I'm trying to stay aware, trying to, keep the grind going. You know what I'm saying? So big news happened pretty much right after we got done recording yesterday, because that just seems to be how this works. But Kenny Dillingham is out as Auburn's offensive coordinator. He is following his former mentor, Mike Norvell, to FSU. And that was kind of predicted. A lot of people kind of were talking about the rumblings and rumors and possibilities of that happening. It's done. And so as soon as that happened, of course, the majority of Auburn fans are saying, all right, Gus, go get Chad Morris. Auburn Undercover has reported that they have made Chad Morris a priority in pursuing. And I bet by the end of this week, he will be Auburn's offensive coordinator. I would actually be surprised if it was someone else.
That's good. That's great. You're going and getting a guy who, had a great offense at SMU, and things didn't work out for him at Arkansas, obviously, but Arkansas is a tough place to win, and we'll see how it turns out. He obviously knows what he's doing when it comes to offenses. He's very, very well respected among head coaches. He's got a great friendship with Gus, so I would not be surprised either.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be the case. I don't think this affects the offense a whole lot. I think it's still going to be Malzahn type offense. I know a lot of Auburn fans are saying, hey, maybe since Gus trusts Morris, that there's a chance that he lets him kind of take over. I'm not buying it. But there are some folks out there, and I was kind of surprised when I saw these tweets. I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, Michael. Saying that, okay, Auburn doesn't need another Malzahn yes man. Mm-hmm. Do you think Morris would be that?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think he would be that, just because of his pedigree and because of that friendship he has with Gus. I'm definitely more comfortable telling the guys that I'm friends with no and disagreeing with them, and knowing that they can handle, and our relationship can handle a little bit of, I guess, confrontation.
Yeah.
It's always a sticky situation, disagreeing with your boss also, and Gus having that trust in Chad Morris and knowing what Chad Morris is capable of, and I keep going back to that friendship. I do think that could be a relationship that is fruitful for this Auburn offense going forward. if it ends up being Chad Morris, which obviously we both think it is.
Yeah, and there may be another announcement out of left field by the time somebody listens to this show. I'm curious how quick this will happen. We'll see with the bowl game being a few weeks away, and whoever the new OC, whoever the new OC's role is in the offense in the Outback Bowl. But let's assume it is Morris, or you know what? Let's just say let's take the new OC out of this. Do you think anyone specifically benefits from Dillingham leaving?
No, not particularly. I think that, all the reports were that everyone really liked Kenny Dillingham.
Yeah.
From the beat writers to the players. And he was a younger guy, a guy who could relate to them quite a bit.
Sure.
And so I don't really think there's anyone who benefits from him leaving except for the new offensive coordinator, obviously, because he's getting his job.
Well, I've seen and heard a lot of people say, well, what did Dillingham do this past year? What did he do? And I'm like, well, he was brought in to handle the quarterbacks, and I think Bo Nix got better throughout the year. And
even throughout games.
Yeah, sure.
Justin Ferguson, friend of the program, he does that film room column every week, and his from the Iron Bowl showed like how Bo improved just throughout that one game, like throughout the Iron Bowl, and a big part of that is coaching.
That's a good point. I'm curious. I wonder how involved he was with that. But I agree with you that Bo did get better throughout games. So I think if you're going to criticize coaches for the bad, you might as well criticize them for the good that happens too. So I'm cool with that. I am cool with that.
This episode is brought to you by Electrify America. Electric cars, they're normal now. Learn more at normalnow.com. Electric cars may seem a little different, but new technology always seems weird at first. Just think of podcasts. They were weird when they first came out in the early 2000s. They were actually called audio blogs, and you had to download them onto MP3 players, and now people all over the world listen to podcasts all the time. Just like podcasts, electric cars are normal now. They have longer ranges, meaning they're not just for work commutes. You can take an electric vehicle to your weekend getaway and even on longer road trips. They have faster recharging times, so you don't have to wait around all day for your car to charge. There are more models to choose from. There's sedans, SUVs, luxury vehicles, and even motorcycles, so you can find one that fits your life. With more affordable models and less routine maintenance, they may actually help you save some money. Electric cars, they're normal now. Learn more at normalnow.com.
Your team.
Greetings, 12 Locked On Seahawks podcast.
Who dat family, and welcome into this week's Locked On Saints.
Hello to all you Foxborough faithful, Locked On Patriots.
Every day.
Another Victory Monday.
It's officially Throwback Tuesday.
Crossover Wednesday episode.
Thursday Night Football.
It is Red Friday edition.
When it comes to the biggest stories.
And so the Chiefs' news story of today is, unfortunately, at this point in the season, it is continuing to be injuries.
You need to be locked on.
We've touched about it on this show and all over Twitter and all that.
And all of a sudden we have a great football team with a championship defense, a franchise quarterback, a running game that can't be stopped. This is exactly why we watch football.
Good quarterbacks are maximized in good systems, and that's exactly what we're seeing with Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers this season.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
In the Apple Podcast app.
Google Podcasts.
Spotify.
Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Michael, I want to talk about something that Coach Pat Dye said on the drive this past Friday about a player that I'm pretty high on. Obviously, Coach Pat Dye knows a lot more about football than both of us, but I thought the passion and the assertiveness in this opinion is interesting. So once again, this is from The Drive with Bill Cameron on ESPN 106.7. Here's Coach Dye. They're talking about going into next year, looking at the defensive backfield specifically.
And you're fine at nickel with Tutt and Peters and I guess.
No. Wait a minute now.
All right.
Wait a minute now. How many times have you seen Tutt get beat?
Oh, Saturday. I mean.
Well, how many times this year have you seen people run by him?
A few.
Now, yeah, you can't have somebody that they run by a few. Now, if he's going to play, we better have some kind of system. because he's just not got the foot speed to cover a fast slot guy.
All right, so I thought that was interesting from a couple of different angles, Michael. One, Auburn fans have been really high on Christian Tutt. And now he's been beat on 2 or 3 really big plays throughout this year. And, Coach Dye noticing a few more than I think most of us probably. But I kind of attributed that being okay because it's so hard to play the slot corner. It is so hard to play nickel because you have to defend more. You can go any direction. It's not like you're playing a boundary. You can't use the sideline as your friend. And, you got to defend left, right, up, back. I mean, you have to do everything. So I attributed some of it being that, and I attributed some of it to being, all right, this is his first year as a starter. The game's still super quick to him, and he's still having to think and process through everything. Like, we've talked to Deshaun Davis and other folks on the show, and he's like, all right, what changes? And he's like, well, they're not thinking anymore. They're just playing. Christian Tutt's not at that level yet. He's not just out there playing. He's still having to think through everything. And so I kind of attribute it to that, where it's like, all right, it's growing pains involved in this, and it's not that big of a deal. Coach Dye, who knows much more than you and I do, says otherwise.
I think I always contributed it to, he's Auburn's third corner. I mean, even if he's the nickel guy, typically, I guess, in my opinion, the nickel guy, if he was as good as the first 2 corners, he'd be a boundary guy.
Well, that's kind of why I thought, going into the year, I'm like, put Javaris in the middle of the field when you're running 3 corners, when you're running nickel, put Javaris in the middle of the field and put Tutt on the outside. But we didn't see that. So, yeah, I mean, it truly was, okay, your third corner comes into the game.
And I like Christian Tutt a lot. What he did in the punt return game for Auburn this season was huge.
Changed a few games.
It's surprising to me that Coach Dye is saying foot speed because, they call him sweet feet, or quick feet,
We've heard both. I think it's officially sweet feet.
Okay. He's known for his speed and footwork. I think some of this might be coming off of the Iron Bowl where, he got toasted by Jalen Waddle a couple times.
Sure.
But who
didn't on Auburn's defense, by the way?
I kind of chalk that up to the fact that Jalen Waddle would be a number 1 receiver on any other team in the country except for probably Clemson. Mm-hmm. And I guess Oklahoma because they have CeeDee Lamb.
Right.
And to ask Auburn's, third or fourth cornerback, whether you want to argue that's Tutt or Roger McCreary or Sherwood or whomever, to go up against basically a number 1 guy, it is a huge, huge ask. And that's kind of what I'm going to chalk this up to. I think Tutt's had a good season, and he's going to keep playing. Hopefully, he's a sophomore, right? Hopefully he'll take a step. He's got a whole nother offseason, a month of bowl practices, all that. Mm-hmm. Then hopefully you expect him to get better. That's another thing that's surprising to me about that is this guy's a sophomore, and Coach Dye is just like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's normally, he's pro player, right? So, typically, but...
I think most coaches are pro players.
Yeah, I think so, because they know what these guys go through a lot more than we do. So, then, I was driving home or driving somewhere Friday, and I heard him say that. I'm like, oh, my gosh, I got to grab that and play it on the podcast, just because I think it's so interesting. So, and I think Bill and Dan, I think they had to go to a break after that, so they didn't really ask questions about his opinion on it. I wish they would have, but... I think what his role will be next year depends a lot on what Noah Igbenogany decides to do.
Yeah.
He certainly looks like he's going to the NFL draft to me. I haven't heard anything or talked to anyone about it. It's just a gut. He looks ready. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. Javaris Davis is gone regardless. So then it's like, all right, who is it after that? And so he may stay in the middle of the field. We'll see, or maybe they move him outside. There's just no one on the roster going into next year. I'm like, okay, I'd rather him be a nickel. So we'll see. We'll see about that.
This is Vinny Iyer, host of Locked On Fantasy Football, with your Locked On Fantasy Football Edge of the Day. Made it to the semifinals of your league's fantasy football playoffs? Then you've had a great season of lineup decisions. Although you want to stick with some of the most reliable producing players who got you there, Trust your gut and follow the best combination of talent personnel matchups, keeping in mind the weather and the trickle-down effects of injuries caused by late-season attrition. Take a little bit more time to examine your own matchup and think about only one thing, how to score a little bit more than your opponent this week. It's all worth it with the stakes raised to the highest in the playoffs. Get the edge in your fantasy football league every day by listening to Locked On Fantasy Football on your preferred podcast provider.
Your team.
Okay, let's get it. Locked On LSU, your team every day.
Welcome back in to Locked On Bama.
You're going to hear about it all week long on Locked On Buckeyes.
Every day.
Monday through Friday.
When it comes to the biggest stories.
Everybody's talking, and we're not excluded from the mix.
Everything that you could want from a post-game recap, we're going to do.
They're far and away the number one team in the country. Winning at this point is the only thing that matters. It's going to put you in meaningful games later.
You need to be locked on.
Tua is the best of us. He is an incredible kid, immensely talented, and it's such a shame that his fairy tale ending was actually at the beginning.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
In the Apple Podcast app.
Google Podcasts.
Spotify.
Hit us up with those 5 stars, and we're going to be here 5 days a week. 1 star for every day of the week.
Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
If you want to hear more shows like this, well, just go to LockedOnPodcasts.com.
All right, and just to kind of wrap up the final third of today's show, I want to play. We got 2 voicemails to hit up, and you can leave a voicemail at 205-502-4285. We would love to hear from you. All right, here is the first one.
Zach, guys, first of all, War Eagle, big listener.
Thanks, man.
Just calling for a couple things. First of all, Rodney Garner, I mean, amazing. That guy has been such a huge impact on the entire program since he stepped on board, and I can't say enough about him. Really impressed with what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
Reload is absolutely what's happening. A little sad that we have to wait all the way till the 14th for another basketball game. However, that team really doing things that completely unexpected right now. Completely unexpected for them to look the way they do at times. And honestly, I think the other night's game absolutely is a loss in prior years, even last year.
Agreed.
We were just a shooting team. If we don't have that inside that we had the other night, I don't think we win that game. And we definitely went to it kind of sloppily and poorly sometimes. But we went to it, and Austin Wiley is becoming the player that we all thought he was going to be. Championship weekend, going for LSU just because, I mean, it's easy to hate Georgia, and I do it a lot. So really happy to see them lose if that's what happens today.
It is what happens.
The other championship games, I think Ohio State's going to maul Wisconsin again. The Baylor OU winner, do they deserve to get in? Absolutely. There's no way that I take a Georgia team that gets pounded today, even a Georgia team that loses in a close game. I just don't think they're there. I think they'll get blown off the field by Ohio State as a 4.
I hope you bet on these.
And it will be another non-competitive game. Other than that, really love the show.
Thanks, man.
First time calling. Probably won't be my last, but War Damn Eagle, you guys have a great day.
Cool. Yeah, I hope it's not your last. I don't think you said your name, but thank you so much for calling. Yeah, obviously he called before the championship games on Saturday, but left that in there because he nailed it. Everything he wanted to happen or predicted happened. So, yeah, he mentioned Rodney Garner. I mean, he is reloading. He's doing great things, and I assume this call was in response to, locking down another 5-star, so that's great. And then mentioned men's basketball. I think they do lose last week if they play like that a few years ago. And I think there's 7 undefeated teams in college basketball right now, and Auburn's one of them. So that's and with this schedule, I think that means a lot.
I totally agree with both the things you said. This basketball team, I think they're better right now than the team was last year. We'll see, obviously, when we get into
You don't want to peak too early.
SEC
that's kind of the
play.
biggest thing that happened 2 years ago when they won the league championship, and then everybody was hurt after that. So we'll see. And last year they just peaked at the perfect time.
Yep. This game on the 14th is a big one. Auburn, we saw it in the last game, typically not great coming off big stretches without playing. So this is going to be a big one. And the playoff. Zach, I don't know how you feel about the playoff. I think we can agree that they got the rankings right.
I think they got the top 4 right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in my mind, I think that the 3 and 4 seeds have the best shot at winning the title. Simply because I certainly am not betting against.
I think Oklahoma is least likely to win.
I'm certainly not betting against Dabo Swinney with a month to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing against Ryan Day, but this is first time as a head coach, and
I think Ohio State wins the whole thing.
Really,
I do.
That's where we differ.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, we'll chat more about that when we get closer. All right, we got another voicemail here.
Hey, Zach, this is Greg in Huntsville, Alabama.
Hey, Greg.
Love the show.
Thanks, man.
Just wanted to get your opinion on the potential hire of Chad Morris as new OC. A lot of people think this is another yes-man move by Gus, and potentially could be. But I think it could be a good hire if he brings Chad in, lets him actually run the offense. Chad Morris was, an exceptional OC at Clemson, so just want to get your opinion. All right, love the show. Keep up the good work. War Eagle.
Hey, thank you so much. Cool. We got listeners from all over the state. That's fun up in Huntsville. And yeah, you can call 205-502-4285 if you want to, chime in on who you think should be the offensive coordinator. I'd love to hear if anybody has any other thoughts of folks outside of Chad Morris, based on when you're listening to this, unless something official's already been named. But yeah, I think, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Michael. I think if Morris comes in and Malzahn just gives him the keys, I think it could benefit a lot of folks. I mean, Arkansas, they found ways to move the football at times this year while they had the worst roster in pretty much every game they played this year, and they still at times found ways to move the football.
Yep, same with last year.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's tough.
I mean, we can agree that it wasn't Morris's fault that he didn't beat an SEC team in 2 years. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay.
He also kind of got dealt a bad hand because he's a up tempo offense kind of guy, and he went into a school full of Brett Bielema recruits.
Yeah.
And Brett Bielema runs the exact opposite style of offense.
You're right.
And so, I remember hearing all the reports about how they wanted to go Razorback fast or whatever, and the first thing he did when he got in was tell the offensive lineman who'd spend the last however many years bulking up,
lose 20 real quick,
was to lose a bunch of weight so that they could be faster. And it was so I think he did get dealt a bad hand. I don't know enough about how Dabo Swinney runs his program. I know Dabo is an offensive guy. I don't know if he calls plays or what. I know they had co-offensive coordinators this season, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with the offense. I don't anticipate Gus letting someone else call plays again. I think he bet on himself this year, and quite honestly, I think it went well for the most part. There were, 3 games where the offense didn't look very good. And besides that, I think the offense played, really, really well for the most part. And I think throughout our conversations this year, Zach, neither of us think, even in those games where the offense didn't play well, that it was play calling.
Do you think? I agree, especially with Florida. I think that was execution. Is the other game LSU that you're referring to?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like the game plan as much against LSU, but we're
splitting here.
Yeah, we're nitpicking at that point, but yeah. So we're in agreement. Do you think if Chad Morris comes to Auburn, there's any chance that he's not calling plays? Would he take a job? From going from a head coach to an offensive coordinator where he wasn't calling the offense?
I think so, because I think the end goal for him is going to be a head coach again, and to come into Auburn, even if he's only here for 1 season or 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I think it would be, kind of like Saban does with rehabbing coaching images and stuff. It'll be enough, kind of like Will Muschamp did. He came to Auburn for a season or two, or he was here for 1 season, and then ended up getting another head coaching job. I think it'll be, if Morris comes, I think it's more likely he does not call plays. I just don't think.
Wow.
I struggle to think that Gus is going to give play calling up again.
But I think you could say, all right, if he is going to give it up,
it
would be to Chad Morris, right?
I guess Chad Morris would
These
be the
guys
guy.
go back, and if he's not going to give it to him, he's not going to give it to anybody.
Also, I don't know how much this really matters to Chad Morris, but his son is a big recruit right now.
Who is no longer committed to Arkansas.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, if Chad Morris wants to coach his son, and that's something that's very important to him, Auburn is one of the schools that's high on his son's list.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe Chad Morris will come to Auburn to coach his son.
You can email the show, lockedonauburn@gmail.com. I think we got a few of those in the bank, so we will hit those up tomorrow if you want to get in queue for that. We won't do it tomorrow. We may do it Thursday, because tomorrow you and I are going to head over to the Fox Sports studio over on Auburn's campus to chat with voice of the Auburn Tigers, Andy Birch. I'm looking forward to that.
I really am too.
Yeah.
I really am too.
Where can people find you and hear you, bud?
Before we do that, I have my question for you.
Oh, yeah.
I texted you about this morning.
That's right.
So as you know.
I don't know what this question is yet. So.
As you know.
Okay.
Lane Kiffin was hired as the head coach at Ole Miss.
Sure. Joey Saltwater. Or Freshwater.
Freshwater.
Yeah.
So there's a video that's been going around of his son being all excited that his dad got hired by an SEC school again, right?
Okay.
His son's name is Knox. They named him Knox after Knox County, where Knoxville is, when he was the head coach at Tennessee. Do you think now that they're moving to Oxford, he'll start going by Ox?
Sure. Knox the Ox, baby. How old's his son? I haven't seen this video.
Like eight, I think.
8?
Something like that.
Well, definitely rhymes, so.
No, just Ox. Like, instead of Knox. He'll just go by Ox instead.
That'd be cool. I'm cool with it.
These are the thoughts that go through my head. Very important things between these ears, guys.
Yeah, you texted me that at like 6 this morning.
Yeah.
Okay. You just wake up and you're like, I can't wait to ask Zach that. All right, that's fine. Cool. Where can people find you and hear you?
Follow me on Twitter.
Did that go how you wanted it to?
No, I thought you were going to like laugh or something, but it's fine.
Sorry.
It's okay. Follow me on Twitter at CouchPaptato. Follow me on the Action Network app. Got a lot coming for bowl season. Maybe some college basketball. We'll see.
All right.
And I think I'm going to start doing a segment on the lunch breaks on Fridays.
Free Money Fridays.
Yes.
Making a comeback. Awesome. Follow me on Twitter at ZBlackerby. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Auburn. Follow the network on Twitter at Locked On College. And we'll be back tomorrow. This has been another edition of the Locked On Auburn podcast.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.